Welcome to another edition of the Quick Bite Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Klinger. Today, we're going to start off a new series on my favorite topic, sales. Let's first talk about Giving Kitchen. If you're in the food service industry and you're in a crisis, reach out to Giving Kitchen at givingkitchen.org, helping food service workers experiencing a crisis in all 50 states. Now, let's dive into the topic of sales. There's a lot of people that are in the sales game, and some people struggle, some people are successful. Why is that? And some may say, well, the difference is, Brian, they just need to give their all. They need to get up and grind. I've heard it said sales is a contact sport. Sales is hand-to-hand fighting. Got to get out there, shake and bake, make it happen. You got to get up early and stay out there late and just grind. And you know what? There's a little bit of truth to that, but there's also a whole lot more that goes into what makes someone successful in the world of sales. And what I want to do is dive into the mindset and talk about what the great salespeople that I've met over the years do to be successful. And what I've found is there's a thread that kind of runs between all of us, myself included. I've been very blessed to have a great career. And what it really comes down to are some core competencies, some heartbeats, some mindsets, and we're going to go into that over the next several weeks. And so we're going to talk today just to establish the why. Why do you sell a product? And some would say, well, hey, Brian, that's an elementary question. It's really about making money. They want to have a good career. They want to help people. There's a lot of different answers involved when it comes to sales. I think the number one answer that you should have is a greater purpose of helping people, solving problems, making an impact on your community. Oftentimes, we're trained to do this needs analysis and fact find and uncover where the problems are, learn how to handle objections, and then you hit them with the product and the price points, and then you make the close. But sales is far more than that. Sales is really at its core about humans connecting with other humans, understanding needs, identifying where the opportunities are to provide help, and then illuminating the problem tied to the answer. And if we're all working in concert together, then you get a great outcome that everybody wins from, right? So easier said than done. If it was easy, everyone would do it. So I'm going to start off this episode by taking the approach that if I was brand new to sales, what would I tell myself if I was able to go back in time? What big piece of advice would I give to me? And that big piece of advice that I would give is, Brian, you got to be okay with failure. You need to understand that it takes time to learn how to solve problems, to learn how to be a good listener, to learn how to connect the dots, to learn how to build trust, to learn how to understand an industry. Some people go into sales thinking, if I just know my product, if I just know the pitch, if I just know how to handle an objection, get past the gatekeeper, get over the hurdles, get over the objections, then I can make a deal. And what they miss out on is the experience and the richness of building meaningful relationships. And you say, Brian, well, I don't care about relationships because I'm in a transactional small business. I've got to go stick and move. I need to flip them quick, in and out, on to the next one. Well, you can have a faster transaction if you're in a small business environment, but it doesn't mean that you have to leave the relationship building aspect at the door. It doesn't mean that you don't have to know what your customers and your prospects' pain points are. The best salespeople that I've ever met are masters of understanding where the customer is, walking in the customer's shoes, living in the customer's world, looking at it from the customer's point of view of what's in it for them. How can we help them? Not what's in it for me and my product and my quota and my paycheck, but what's in it to help my client. And if you can come at it from the standpoint less of, hey, the product, the speeds, the feeds, the objection handling, and more about if I become a knowledgeable person around things that my clients and prospects may care about, then I'm going to stand a far greater chance of having meaningful conversations, faster sales cycles, deeper, wider relationships, and better outcomes for everyone. And there's nothing better than having a satisfied client. And how someone is usually satisfied is that they actually feel they receive value for what they paid for, that what you told them matched what the problem was that you said you'd solve. So let's start back to that younger self. If I was talking to them, I would say, Brian, yes, you need to know the product. Yes, you need to have competence around pricing. Yes, you need to be a team player and understand what your company's core values are. But more importantly, you need to establish in the marketplace a knowledge of whatever vertical focus that you have. If it's a general focus, then be generally wise about business principles, business struggles, macroeconomic situations, microeconomic situations, marketing trends, social trends, even political trends. You need to be well-versed in what's going on in the world of your prospects. And if you do, the good news is the clients will respect you. They will listen to you and they will take you more seriously. Here's the funny thing I see salespeople do sometimes. They walk in the door and they say, Mr. or Mrs. Client, prospect, tell me your business goals. Tell me your drivers. They want to lead with these open-ended questions right out of the gate. And what I have found is the client and the prospect, they're sitting there thinking, how do I know I need to waste my time on you? How do I know that what I share with you is worth my time to share? How do I know that you're going to be able to receive that information and action on it and solve a problem I may have? So let's shift the direction from these open-ended, canned questions that a lot of sales coaches over the years, unfortunately, have taught bad habits around, taught bad, muscle memory for salespeople. And let's start off with walking in the door and saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, my name is Brian Klinger. And I work in this industry. I've helped solve problems in this area. I know that in this industry, there are common challenges, and they are as follows. And you start listing a few of them. Can you identify with some of that or any of those puzzles that you're trying to solve? By the way, here's an underscore, highlight, take your marker out, boys and girls. Are there any puzzles that you're trying to solve today? That is a great way to get an open-ended question that gets a customer or prospect to talk. It's something that makes them inquisitive in their mind. A puzzle you can visually picture. You got to solve it. You got to put a piece together to lock it in. So what I want you to do is think less about walking in the door with an agenda of pitching your product and more of an agenda of, hey, I want to demonstrate, number one, that I am worth my prospect's time and for them to respect me. And the way I'm going to do that is I need to demonstrate some knowledge, some proactive laying cards on the table, demonstrating some things and insights about their industry so that they will take me seriously when I walk in the door. And then when you're talking about the puzzles they're trying to solve, then they may open up to you and share some. And when they open up and they share a little bit, you do not immediately go right into your sales pitch. People are so keen on sniffing out an agenda-driven seller who's just trying to get to the sale, race on and get out. You really need to take the time to vet out those challenges, understand them, let it marinate, understand what the implications are. Hey, what have you done in the past to try to solve for that? Here's some things that we've seen that work. Have you ever thought about that before? How does that work for you? And oh, by the way, as a seller, be ready to not win a deal. You can't force it. You can't walk in and go, it's got to be my way or the highway. You have to be willing to lose. And in losing, you're going to get to the truth. And in getting to the truth, if you're a fit or not, you walk out with dignity and say, hey, the truth is they really don't need me, or my product's not a good fit. My solution's not going to work for them. And that's okay. And you be very upfront with the customer. The worst thing someone can do is walk into a client engagement, sell them something that's really not a fit, square peg, you're trying to jam into a round hole. And then the next thing you know, you've got a customer that's bitter. They're angry. And then they're going to tell 20 people, watch out for that guy, watch out for that gal. They're bad news. They're going to say you something that's not going to work and leave you with a bad taste. So let's have integrity about our engagement. It's about the customer first, knowledge that we share of their industry, which takes us doing our homework. We have to know the landscape. We have to be paying attention to what's going on in the world. Then, when you've earned the right to have the conversation, you've earned the right to understand the puzzles they're trying to solve, then you try to map to those puzzles to your solutions. And if it's a fit, great. So let's start there. Going back to my younger self, I would be knowledgeable about the business climate, the vertical market I would be focused on, whatever the industry is, I better be a subject matter expert in that. And then the product that my company sells. Sure, you got to have your product down. You got to know it. But every great salesperson, that's fundamentals. You get a lot of indoctrination, a lot of selling. Here's what the product does, the features, the benefits, and all that. Awesome. But guess what? Your customer doesn't care about that. Your customers and prospects, they don't work for your company. They're not sitting in the classroom getting this indoctrination and the Kool-Aid being poured down their throats on how great you are. They don't care. You know what they care about? They care about keeping the lights on, growing their business, solving problems, making payroll, and generating revenue. They care about growing their business. And if you grow along with them, great. So you've got to first have the mindset, it's not about me, it's about them. Check it out for the next episode. We're going to talk more about this topic of sales. Looking forward to catching up with you guys soon. Again, go out there and give some love to Giving Kitchen. If you want to donate to them, that'd be awesome. They are helping food service workers in all 50 states. GivingKitchen.org. Y'all have a blessed day.